Chainsaw Man and hidden religious symbolism? It's more likely than you think. We'll be talking about that plus many other fun facts and Easter eggs that you probably missed. Starting off, let's talk about Pochita. Did you know that Pochita's appearance is actually based on a real brand of chainsaws called Makita? We can definitely see the resemblance. Pochita's name is also a combination of Makita and Pochi, a common dog name in Japan. Pochita's true form as the Chainsaw Devil seems to be modeled after one of Tatsuki Fujimoto's favorite manga, the seinen series Abara. He cited it as a major reference, and that comes through in Pochita's true form. It heavily resembles the Black Gauna from Abara. Not only that, but the two protagonists from Abara are named Denji and Nayuta. Denji is of course also the name of our main character in Chainsaw Man, while Nayuta is a name Fujimoto has used in his one-shot manga called Nayuta of the Prophecy. Additionally, a character named Nayuta appears much later in the manga as the new form of the Control Devil. Next up, did you know that there was a lot of foreshadowing for Aki becoming the Gun Fiend? Fujimoto has said that his name is an intentional play on words. He chose the name Aki because it sounds like the AK-47 model of gun. How fitting! It's the deadliest weapon ever created. That's not the only bit of foreshadowing either. His top knot hairstyle has some hidden meaning in it as well. It's intentionally designed to resemble the hammer of a pistol, which of course is what it becomes once he's the Gun Fiend. It may also be a reference to Fooly Cooley's 5th episode when the hammer of a pistol comes out of the back of Naota's head, very similar to Aki. Another similarity to Naota and Chainsaw Man is how the chainsaw comes out of Denji's head. Naota repeatedly has strange things sticking out of his forehead, with one of his transformations bearing a strong resemblance to Denji's halfway protruding chainsaw. Finally, do you remember Aki's cigarette with Easy Revenge written on it? This is probably a reference to another Fooly Cooley character, Mamimi, who is seen smoking a cigarette with the words Never Knows Best written on it. Moving on to Denji, did you know he appeared in a chapter of My Hero Academia? Yep, during a crowd shot in chapter 259, we can see Denji in his Chainsaw Man form in the background. This, though, doesn't make it into the anime as they replaced his chainsaw head with a traditional handsaw. Also, have you noticed that Denji doesn't actually seem to have a last name? Whether it's the debt his father owed or his way of dealing with a painful loss, we think he just didn't feel the need to have a last name. Moving on, did you know that one chapter of Chainsaw Man is for fans above 18? Yep, chapter 59 can't actually be read on the Shonen Jump app and can only be read on Viz Media's website. Chainsaw Man's already a pretty violent and dark manga, so you may be wondering what exactly was in it. Well, one page featured the character Quan Chi and her fiend girlfriends having fun together. So yeah, that's probably gonna get cut when the anime gets to that arc. Another interesting thing about Chainsaw Man that you may not have known is that it actually takes place in 1997. It may not be obvious, but things like the internet or cell phones are absent. The date's not explicitly confirmed until chapter 75, which even shows an unnamed American president who resembles Bill Clinton. Speaking of 1977, did you know Kobeni's car is rather retro? In fact, Kobeni's car is something of a meme in the Chainsaw Man fandom after it placed 7th in a popularity poll. This actually puts it one spot above Kobeni herself, which we think is hilarious. Not only that, but Kobeni's car appears to be a real-life car model, a Fiat 500. But it's likely a reference to the popular anime franchise Lupin III, which often features Lupin and the gang driving around in a yellow Fiat 500. Also, did you notice that strange illustration in the 5th ending with multiple versions of Kobeni on a staircase that loops endlessly? This is an obvious reference to the Eternity Devil arc where Kobeni temporarily lost her mind. But more importantly, it is also a reference to the art piece Ascending and Descending by MC Escher, an artist known for having art with mind-bending optical illusions. One cool Easter egg we found was in chapter 75, where we see a long list of the Gun Devil's victims. This not only showed the extent of the Gun Devil's powers, it also cleverly hid a name among those listed, Satoru Noda, a real-life mangaka behind the series Golden Kamui. That's not the only Golden Kamui reference though. The second reference involves the character Yoru, aka the War Devil. Fans have noticed that her facial scarring looks almost identical to Sugimoto, the protagonist of Golden Kamui. There are also examples of Chainsaw Man referencing things from real life, such as the Chicken Devil, aka Bucky. He takes the appearance of a talking headless chicken. Believe it or not, there are rare cases of chickens surviving without their heads, the most famous of which happened in the 1940s, where a chicken named Mike survived being beheaded for over a year. Another real-life reference concerns the Cursed Devil. its target has to be stabbed with a nail several times in order for the curse to work. This is a reference to a Japanese cursing ritual called Ushi no Toki Mairi that involves stabbing a straw doll with a nail several times. One of the religious references on our list comes from Makima's taste in art. In her office, we see a painting depicting a scene from Dante's Inferno, a very influential piece of literature. It shows a devil chasing a sinner that's trying to escape from it. Later in the manga, we can see another painting in Makima's apartment. This one depicts a scene from the epic poem Paradise Lost, showing a scene of Satan being cast down from heaven. And that's not the only artistic illusion involving Makima either. The ending theme to episode 5 also shows a painting depicting the moment Makima and Denji first met. But the way the painting is drawn seems to be evoking the Pietà, a famous sculpture by the artist Michelangelo. The sculptor depicts the Virgin Mary holding her son Jesus in her arms after the crucifixion. This could be a bit symbolic since in some ways Makima is a motherly figure towards Denji. Of course, Denji is also in love with Makima, so that makes things a little bit weird. Did you also know that the fiends and devils that work at public safety are named after different types of angels? There are regular angels, which is what most people think of, like the angel devil. But there are a bunch of other types of angels like seraphim and cherubim, which look wildly different. Characters like Power, Beam the Shark Fiend, Gagali the Violence Fiend, and Princey the Spider Devil are all named after these different classes of angels. There were several horses at the ending of episode 5, which seems to represent the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse mentioned in the biblical book of Revelations. These are conquest, famine, war, and death. First, we've got a white centaur with a female upper body representing conquest. Then we have a pure black horse representing famine. Next, there's a headless, 6-legged red horse that almost looks reptilian, which represents war. Finally, there's what appears to be another black horse, but on closer inspection, it's actually made up of many pale hands. It represents death. Another horse that's featured is a pink plush unicorn with a knife for a horn. Obviously, this wasn't in the Bible. This unicorn likely represents Denji with the knife for a horn being his chainsaw. The reason it appears as a stuffed unicorn is probably meant to represent how Denji is still childish in a lot of ways. The 5th episode ending also featured several references to Evangelion. For example, there's one scene where we see a giant face floating in a pool of blood, very similar to the iconic poster for the end of Evangelion. There's also the multiple mirrored versions of Power, which look similar to these infinite rays. And the most direct reference may be in this mysterious floating shape, which looks similar to the 5th angel from Evangelion. The Chainsaw Man OP Kickback is also chock full of references to popular films. They go by so fast it's hard to catch them all in one go. Mostly it's 2 popular movies like Pulp Fiction or No Country for Old Men, but it also references cult classics like Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. One reference that shows up in both the intro and the main series is a shout out to the crime drama Reservoir Dogs. The opening shot of the main cast walking down the street is almost identical to the opening credits in Reservoir Dogs. Not only that, but just like the main characters in Reservoir Dogs, all the devil hunters in Chainsaw Man wear matching black suits. Another Chainsaw Man ending that is interesting is the 11th one. It seems to pay homage to the popular fan theory that Hirokazu Arai became the violence fiend after he died. Towards the end, we see a montage featuring Kobeni, the violence fiend, Himeno, and Aki. 3 out of these 4 were involved in the Eternity Devil arc together, and it seems that the violence fiend is standing in for Arai. Obviously, this doesn't confirm the theory, but it's a nice nod to the fandom. But do you think this theory could be true? Let us know what you think.